try to silence the truth we shout, but we're still here, we're still calling out. Corruption hides behind a badge of name. We light the fire, expose the shame. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they tried to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. The stories echo, the pain runs deep. For stolen lives we can't just weep. Elected power but their hearts are cold. We'll bring the truth, let it be told. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they try to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight. The heroes undo the harm. Calling out corruption, we'll stand tall for justice and truth, we'll risk it all. My life mattered is the cry we sing. Together we rise, let freedom ring.
Hi there, good evening, and welcome back, Justice Seekers and Social Change Warriors. My life mattered. Thanks a lot for hanging in there with me and sticking with our channel through the thick and thin and the good and the bad and the ugly. And it's been a little bit of ugly the last 3 weeks. And I appreciate all of you sticking in there with me with live streaming on Wednesdays and having to cancel last Friday. I appreciate it so much. And so do all the families that we've been advocating for and that we're standing for justice for. So I'm going to pull a little bit of a Maza Media tonight. For those of you that followed both the Karen Reed trials 1 and 2, Maza Media is a live streamer in Massachusetts. And when he first started live streaming, he was incognito. And he just had his Maza Media logo up there for many months. I think it wasn't until he was invited to go to court by Karen and her family that he had to, show us his face. So a handsome man he is. I think he's old enough to be one of my sons. So I can't think he's too handsome. But it's going to be baby steps tonight, guys. I've been through a lot the last 3 weeks, last month with pretty intense food poisoning and led to a hospital stay. And then I was in a car accident last week just to make just to add insult to injury, a lady swerved in front of me at the last second and slammed on her brakes, and I had nowhere to go. So I slammed on mine, but I hit her, and then the car behind me hit me. So I was sandwiched, and weirdly, they both left the scene. So I was dialing 911 and checked, obviously checked myself to make sure I was okay, made sure my dogs are okay, and then dialed 911, expecting them both to get out of their cars. And I could see them. I looked behind me and I saw her moving. I looked ahead of me. I saw the person moving, but I couldn't tell if they were a male or female. And I didn't write the plate down because I was quite stunned, to be honest with you, and a little bit shook up. And I didn't expect anyone to leave. Right. So there's all this traffic around us on LPA Boulevard in Daytona Beach. And all of a sudden, the car in front of me starts to leave. And I'm like, whoa, wait, where are you going? Come back. And then within a few minutes, the car behind me left. And I thought, what the hell was that? That is so bizarre. And so I was able to pull over to the side of the road. I could smell radiator fluid, so I knew it was bad for my car. But I pulled over to the side of the road and the police came. And so, I wasn't injured. I didn't have to go to the hospital, but I just developed a really bad headache after the accident. My neck injury stuff kind of rears its ugly head as it is from time to time. And I just haven't been sleeping very well just from the stress of my car was totaled as of yesterday. So it's just been something, okay? It's been an episode. It's been an episode. But I am still following Justice for John O'Keefe. I've been keeping up with the different live streamers and the social media posting when I could. And I've also, as many of you know, on Wednesdays, those of you that are loyal subscribers, and thank you so much for being with me the last year and advocating for all the victims and the families that we have advocated for. Most of you know Wednesdays is my night for empowering women of domestic violence and calling out the corruption that could be involved with domestic violence cases, or just simply the injustice of their cases not being solved. And even those that are apparently being solved because their husbands or spouses or fiancés are in jail, their cases are dragging out, as is a lot of what's going on with a lot of our ladies. So I appreciate all of you that join me on Wednesdays, and that's our night to invite families to join us on the platform. And I've had many family members join me on Wednesdays and sometimes even Thursdays, depending on their schedule. So I've really appreciated that. But I've really looked forward to Friday nights with y'all, because Friday nights is a chance for me to give my opinion on Justice for John O'Keefe and during the trials, obviously freeing Karen Read. Trial 1, I wasn't live streaming. I was just tweeting a lot of tweeting. But trial 2, I was live streaming, and I chose Friday Night Lies because, most of you know, because I'm a big football fan. And I just wanted to call out the lies as I saw them, because I just saw so many lies constantly on the witness stand, as did all of you. You don't have to have been a cop or a lawyer or a firefighter or anybody that's been involved with accident scenes to know that there was a lot of shenanigans going on with the John O'Keefe case. It was just so apparent. Hey, Screaming Daisies, welcome back. Great to have you. It was so apparent in almost everybody's testimony, with the exception of those who actually did tell the truth, and there weren't many. So back in January of last year, I thought, most of my live streams were centered around domestic violence victims. I did speak on Karen Read and I did speak on John O'Keefe, and I was constantly tweeting about the case, but I hadn't been live streaming about it up until then. I started in August, and I wasn't really following the case as a live streamer, having episodes that just centered around Karen and John. And then I suddenly realized that I really wanted to. I wanted to be able to give my opinion as a former law enforcement officer. I wanted to give my opinion as a social worker and a former journalist, because all three of those really have a lot to do with crime scenes. You have social workers who work with victims after the fact, victim advocates, and you have, which I've done. And of course, the police handles the case. So the police on the scene, the ones that are first to get there, are the patrol officers. And that's what I did. I was a patrol officer, and then I was a community officer. So I saw that side of it. Sometimes I got to work with the detectives. If I was on late duty, for instance, they would let me work with the detectives. Hey, pal Cat, MCAT, great to see you. Sorry about your Hawkeyes last week. Miraculously, my Badgers beat Washington. I don't know how we did it with our fourth-string quarterback, but we did it. It was a defensive battle. That's all I have to say. But maybe we'll talk a little sports at the end of tonight's live. But welcome everybody who's here. I appreciate all of you so much. But yeah, getting back to why I wanted to do Friday Night Lies is I wanted to talk about this case, and I haven't really been, I guess, I don't want to say the word like respected, because I don't think that's the case, but I don't really think anyone in the movement per se has really paid much attention to our channel too much. And so I haven't really been invited on anyone's shows to talk about my opinion as a patrol officer, which I wish I could have been, especially during the trial. I don't know that they had any patrol officers on any of their shows. So I guess they're just not giving too much credence to that in the live streaming world, those that have been following this case. But I give it a lot of credence because I did the job, and I know plenty of officers still that work the job, patrol officers that I've met through the years in my different locations of where I've lived after I retired. And it's a very valuable career. And I still do truly believe that there are good cops out there. There are good officers who wanted to be a police officer for all the right reasons, to serve and protect the community, to take care of the community, to be role models to children, and to let them know that there is safe people out there that they can count on. So all of these, dare I say, dirty cops that we have come to meet via the Karen Reed case and the Sandra Birchmore case in Massachusetts. And of course, now we know Proctor had his dirty little hands in Anna Walsh, who was a domestic violence case. And we've talked about that on Wednesdays. There are dirty cops out there. And so we can't be naive and think that all cops are great, but we also can't go the other side of the spectrum and say all cops are bad, because that's not true either. So there's always going to be a mix of good and evil in this world. And that there is no profession that is safe from that, right? There isn't. So thank you everyone for sticking with me, for sticking with our channel. We're growing slowly and that's okay, because we're really here to stand for the victims of homicide and their families. That's our job, is to advocate for people that have not received justice and to try to keep their name out there in the public. Many of our the people that we advocate for that have lost their lives to homicide by the hands of someone else, they're not known by the mainstream media. They're not known by any of the big live streamers. We're one of the only ones that give them airspace. And some of our victims that we've advocated for, they've been in their local media. But then when the case doesn't get solved, then the next thing comes along, the next big thing. And even local media forgets. It feels like they forget about them. I don't think they do. But when their case is stalled and there's nothing to report on, that's what the news does. They report news. And when there's no news, there's no news. So our channel is here to keep the names of these victims out here, even if it's on a small channel like ours with 1,070 plus subscribers. We're doing something. We're not just sitting around doing nothing and twiddling our thumbs. We're still putting their names out there. We're still caring about the families. I've still been in touch with many of the family members that I've advocated for, even though their cases, have stalled. And it's frustrating. It's sad. It makes you mad. And sometimes you wonder, how can I keep doing this? I know I've thought that myself through the various bullying and non-acceptance and just feeling like I'm not doing enough. Maybe I need to get back on the ground more and maybe only live stream once a month, because then I can take my little bit of time that my body allows me to volunteer, which is about 10 hours a week, 12 hours a week, and go do it on the ground. I don't know. I'm torn. So I would love to hear from all of you. I know MCAT and I are due a conversation because I love feedback. I love constructive criticism. We all grow from constructive criticism. None of us are perfect. We should, if you're live streaming, it's a privilege. It's really a privilege to be able to have the wherewithal to get up here and speak for 2 to 3 hours at a time, and to try to keep your audience engaged and try to have something positive to say, or negative if you have to, and still make it all make sense. And yet you still have to have an entertainment value of some sort, because people they want to be entertained, even if it's following true crime and advocating for victims of homicides. So it's a tricky walk we walk when we're trying to be a live streamer and trying to make a difference. So I will put my email up again right now in the chat box, and please feel free to email me any comments, questions, suggestions. I mean, I'm thinking about maybe live streaming every other Friday, and then I can do every other Wednesday. So that way I'm live streaming once a week. So Wednesdays, and then the following week it would be on a Friday. And then that gives me more time to work with the families that I have a new family now that I am working with out of Wisconsin on a very convoluted, complicated, tragic case. And it took up a lot of my time this week, which is why I'm not on camera, because I had to stare into the computer a lot this week, a little more than my 12 hours. And I'm trying not to get this headache back. I don't want it back. I want it to stay gone. So I'm going to put my email up here, and just let me know what you think about that idea. Those of you loyal subscribers and anyone that's new joining us tonight for the first time. I really can't do Wednesdays and Fridays and do on the ground work. I'm also going to start volunteering once a month at my local domestic violence shelter again too. So I just need to be hands-on and on the ground. That helps me with what I have to live with my imaginary, some people like to say my imaginary illnesses, because a lot of people criticize those of us that have illnesses that really can't be seen, chronic fatigue and chronic neck pain and stuff in my neck that causes me a lot of problems and a lot of headaches during the week. So it's difficult having these things on board. Most people don't really know what it's like, but there are those of you out there. I know there are many of you that suffer with chronic pain and chronic invisible illnesses, as we call them. And it's difficult. So I have to weigh what is best for me, and helping people really helps me to get through my pain and to make my retirement years feel worthy. And so that's what I'm wanting to do now going forward. I had hopes that our channel would have taken off a little more by now, because I really want to have a lot of social change warriors out there advocating for victims of crimes who don't make the mainstream media. I feel like we're their only really hope. I mean, there's just not a lot of people out there that are willing to live stream about what mass media considers small cases, but they're not small cases. Mallory and her son Major are not a small case to her mother and father and to their friends and family. She was a wonderful, wonderful woman and mother who lost her life, and there is no one in jail. And that's a case that's got a lot of twists and turns and complications. And I'll be breaking that down for you next Wednesday. Mary Jo will be joining me. She joined me a little bit live last week, but she's going to join me live next Wednesday. And we're going to walk you through what happened to Mallory and Major Harris. Mallory Munzenberger from Onalaska, Wisconsin, and Major Harris, his biological father, was from Madison, Wisconsin, my hometown, and he is suffering without his child. And it's a very bizarre, strange case and a tragedy. So it's not small to them. It's not small to any of our victims that we have live streamed for. Sarah Ebersol here in Florida, Jason Beach here in Florida, Deshaun Hudson here in Florida. We've had a lot of on the ground cases here where we've tried to make a difference for the families the best that we can, and trying to get more community involvement. And that's what I'm hoping that maybe that will still happen someday if I keep sticking with it. But I am definitely going to do it, I think, every other Friday and every other Wednesday, but opposite. So that way I'm live streaming once a week, and I have time to work with the families and try to dig into their cases more. So I hope that's acceptable to you all. Please, I'm going to put my email up right now. So let me know your thoughts on that, and any suggestions or questions. I love Friday Night Lies. I love keeping up with what's happening with Massachusetts. And a lot of people probably wonder why those of us that aren't from Massachusetts, why have we spent, hi Tracy, welcome. Why have we spent so much time covering this case, the Karen Reed case and Justice for John O'Keefe? And why do we spend so much time on social media arguing with anti people that do believe that Karen hit her with her car? And some of them are just vile and nasty humans. They are just nasty to those of us that do believe in science and do believe that he was not hit by a car. And why do we bother? But I think I've thought about that a lot, because it's tough. Why do we bother? Why are we those of us that aren't from Massachusetts, those of you that are, it makes total sense, right? That's your home state. There's crime and corruption, in your opinion, going on in your home state. So it makes total sense why you would want to advocate against crime and corruption and dirty cops in your own home state. But why so many of us in other countries and in other states have been so drawn to this case. And it is somewhat of a conundrum, because there have been so many people that have been killed by the hands of someone else since John O'Keefe. And most of them get literally a fraction, like an eighth of an eighth of an eighth of the attention that John O'Keefe and Karen Reed have gotten. And so it is somewhat mind-boggling, right? Like it kind of blows your mind a little bit. Like, and especially, and no disrespect to John, I mean, but he was not killed in the line of duty. And there are cops killed in the line of duty all over this country. And most of you never hear about them. You never know why they died or how they died or what happened to them. And they're honored, you know, in their own communities and obviously within their families and in their police departments. But John was killed off duty. He wasn't serving when he died. He was at a party and something went south. And we all believe that we know what it was, you know, that it was some bad blood going on between Higgins and John, and potentially also Brian Albert. And things got out of hand and a fight ensued, and it was quick and fast, and he fell and hit his head and he died. And they didn't want to be truthful about it. They did not want to risk being blamed for it, because there's no other real, you know, explanations. Why wouldn't they have immediately called 911? I mean, they're cops, for God's sake. Why wouldn't two cops, one ATF agent, one a detective, high ranking in the Boston Police Department, why wouldn't they call the cops? You know, it's one thing. Everybody panics. Okay. This lady just pulled out in front of me and slammed on her brakes and I hit her and she left the scene. People panic. It happens. People panic and they're not bad people. They're just having a really bad day and they made a mistake and they did something dumb and they panicked. So I can see one of them panicking maybe, but both of them. So that's what's never made a lot of sense to me. Why wouldn't they have just told the truth? You know, if it was a fight that went wrong and it wasn't, you know, malicious, it wasn't premeditated, there probably wouldn't have even been any charges. There may not have been had they just told the truth. So that's always bothered me. It's always sat inside of my brain where with the doesn't make sense, with so much else in this case that made no sense. And so much of it feels like injustice, you know, purposely blaming the wrong person, or possibly they wanted to blame Lucky, the plow truck driver. I mean, that's very plausible to me. It makes sense. It's kind of a 1 + 1 = 2. And then when that didn't work out because Karen came to the house, then she basically laid it right in their lap for them. And then you have injustice becomes law almost, and then resistance becomes duty. And that's what you've seen in Canton, Massachusetts and Stoughton, Massachusetts. You've seen resistance because it feels like it's our duty now to stand up to this injustice, because how can we let the government in Canton and in Stoughton and the police officers in both those towns get away with this, right? Because they have been getting away with it. Just like our friend Ed Byers, the sheriff there, Jamie Knowles, was getting away with white collar crimes that actually affected EMS, that actually affected people getting to the hospital in a timely manner. So he did cause deaths. They just couldn't prove it. They couldn't put it on him. So Screaming Daisies, yeah, why not call 911? I feel there must be more than just the Karen aspect. John might have had something in them, possibly work related. I agree with you completely, Screaming Daisies. I mean, I've been saying that from day one. When I was just tweeting before I started live streaming, I was feeling it, like my gut feeling, my old little police officer gut feeling, my social worker gut feeling, whatever you want to call it, maybe the journalist that's still left there inside of me from those early years in my 20s. I felt like there had to be something more to this. It never felt like it was just Higgins. It was just the flirtation. It just never felt like that. And I don't think I don't know what all of you guys believe, but I truly believe, and I don't like to speak ill of the dead. We're not supposed to. We're not raised that way. But when the dead commit crimes before they die, then yeah, you can speak on that. I'm not speaking ill. I'm not calling him names. I'm not making fun of his face or his looks. But Berkowitz, he's dirty in this, guys. There's no way he's not. There's way too much evidence that points to him being dirty in the cover up, that he had to have been part of it, because otherwise it makes zero sense. Why was he there? He was battling cancer. He was supposed to be off duty battling cancer. What was he doing there? Why was he even involved? He should have been miles away from there. It wasn't his job to be there that night. He shouldn't have been there that night. It was probably somewhat insubordinate, if you think about it, for him to even be there that night. Exactly, Screaming Daisy says, plus Higgins drove by John's house when he started talking to Karen. Seems weird too. Yeah, I know. There's just so many things that don't add up, that never added up to Karen just hitting him with her car. That this, like a lot of the antis like to say when they're going crazy on social media, that this is just simple. This is a simple domestic violence hit and run. No, it's not. First of all, you don't get to use the word domestic violence if you don't know what you're talking about. So don't go on social media and start yapping your jaw and typing your type and being your keyboard warrior in whatever room in your house you sit in when you do this, and speak on something that's so tragic and so horrible in our nation that is not even true. There's no way that John and Karen were in a domestic violence relationship. Sure, they had their problems. Yes, it sounded like they argued at times, but what couple doesn't? What couple doesn't have their problems, right? So I absolutely couldn't believe it when big names like Jennifer Coffendorfer was getting on there in the last few weeks of the trial saying that Karen was a domestic abuser. That is insane. I mean, even if she had hit him with her car because it was a total accident, because it was snowing and she couldn't see, maybe he slipped on the ice, but we know the science doesn't back that up. We know the injuries on John's body doesn't back that up, guys. So again, rolling it back to what I said at the beginning, why is this case? Why are we so drawn to this case, this one case, when there's so many? There's so many. We're advocating for 18 victims in the last year, 18 victims of homicide. And a lot of them were killed by their husbands or their boyfriends or their fiancés. And but I care about all of them. And I've met a lot of their families, either by email or Zooming or in person, on the ground. I literally care about all of them so much. And I want justice for all of them. But this case, it never leaves my brain. And I know that all of us that have been invested in this feel the same way. I walk through it all the time. Why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do that? Why wasn't the scene secure? Why did Brian Albert come out of his damn house, for God's sake? I go over this all in my mind so often. I cannot believe how much of my time is spent thinking about solving this case. Like, we all want to be the one that figures out that one little gem that's hidden in there somewhere. It's hidden in a police report, or it's hidden in something that someone said on the stand. And that's why we did Friday Night Live, so that we could go over every witness testimony like we did. And it was so helpful to me. And I was so grateful to all of you that joined me on Friday nights. To, back in the beginning when we still had Amber and Deidre, and then we got Julie, and everybody was so helpful pointing out all the inconsistencies and pointing out the lies. And all of you in the box, the friend zone, were amazing. You guys are smart, you're intelligent people. You all have amazing jobs and careers in your own fields that lend to true crime, that you can figure this stuff out. A lot of this is not rocket science. What it comes down to for the police is proper evidence collection, securing the scene, and then you have to build a case. You can't take something to the DA that has no legs. If it doesn't have legs, it can't walk. And you can't crawl into the DA's office and say, here's my case. So most homicides are actually quite obvious. Like, yes, this is what happened. This is probably who did it. But you have to prove that. You have to be able to have enough evidence and enough witness interviews or witnesses or surveillance camera or evidence left at the scene, DNA. You have to have enough to take that to the DA for the DA to say, yes, we can take this to either a grand jury first, or we can take it to an actual jury trial. And that's where a lot of these cases get stalled, because they don't have that piece that they need to take it to that next level. And then it's so frustrating for the families and the loved ones of people that are unalived by the hands of someone else. Screaming, yeah, yeah, I said that one already. Thanks. MCAT, it was clearly a frame job. That's why people were interested. Yeah, MCAT, I get you. I feel it. And I know that. The frame job is intriguing. When I read a lot of crime novels. It's my fun thing to do during the day when I'm not doing anything else and I need downtime. I need to ice my neck. I've gotten addicted to the Stone Barrington novels because they're a little bit lighter. I was reading a lot of the heavy ones for a while, and I was having trouble sleeping at night because I like to read before I go to bed. And so I had to go to something a little bit lighter. But the Stone Barrington series, written by Stuart Woods, is so intriguing. And it's such a great mixture of crime and sex and espionage. And they've got the CIA and FBI and the in Europe. I mean, he goes to Europe all the time, and it's a fascinating series. For those of you that want to read something that's not quite so bloody and gory and scary, like a lot of the Nora Roberts books, when she writes as J.D. Robb, a lot of those are pretty gory, and I have a hard time with those now at night. I can read them during the day, but I can't read those at night anymore. But Stuart Woods, Stone Barrington, I can still read those at night. And sometimes I'm too tired to read, my eyes hurt or my head hurts, so I audio now. I've got the little what's it called? Oh yeah, I've got Libby on my iPad and on my phone, so I get the audiobooks now. So I was reading an audiobook, and I wanted to run this by you before we get into Proctor, because we are going there right away after this, I promise. I just wanted to do kind of this opening where we chat a little bit about why are we so drawn to this case and why does it matter to us so much. And I think, MCAT hit it right on the head. It's because of the corruption. A lot of cases don't have corruption. They just have kind of bad police work or shoddy police work or frustrated police officers who are truly doing the best they can do. And they just can't get that piece of the puzzle that they need for the DA to take it to a jury trial or to a grand jury first, whatever the case may be. So it's not always the fault of the police. Sometimes the crimes are well planned, and some of these domestic violence homicides are premeditated. They're not just crimes of passion. They are premeditated by the husband or the fiance of these ladies that we've been advocating for. Ellen Greenberg, Suzanne Clark Simpson, Suzanne Morphew, Ashley Lachey Elkins is still missing as well. Suzanne Clark Simpson is still missing. Sandra Birchmore, we know the travesty of the years and years and years of grooming of that. The premeditation involved is sickening and horrific, and those are harder to prove because they are smart guys. Most of them have big important jobs, and they're very well respected in their work communities and their neighborhood communities. No one knows about the domestic violence going on in their homes. And they have premeditated this because they either don't want to share custody of the kids, or they don't want to share the house or the money, whatever the case may be. And they decide to unalive their wives, and they hide the bodies. They do that a lot because then they feel in their minds, they cannot be convicted. If it's that old saying, no body, no crime. And they buy into that. They believe in that in their sick, twisted minds, because anyone that would unalive their own wife or fiance or girlfriend is and premeditated is sick and twisted. Now, the heat of crime, the heat of passion, I'm sorry, those are tougher. And especially if they don't involve any domestic violence leading up to it. Social workers and psychotherapists and psychiatrists, they have a much harder time with those because they truly are just someone just completely loses their mind, and it's a crime of passion. There's no premeditation. There was nothing leading up to it really other than normal not getting along. Those are a lot harder. But the Anna Walsh, the Brian Walsh, that was totally premeditated in my opinion. And we'll get to a couple updates on that case too here in a little bit. But the book I was reading recently was called Worst Fears Realized. And the reason why it was called Worst Fears Realized is because the reason for the book, the whole plot of the book, is that one of the criminals that Dino and Stone Barrington, was his partner, and Dino's now in this book he's a lieutenant. He hasn't become the chief of police yet, but they arrested him and put him in jail for unaliving his wife. So it was a domestic violence case. He sliced her with a knife, and she died. And he was put in jail because of Stone and Dino's detective work. Well, people that either know or care about start getting attacked and or unalived, but he's still in jail. So they have to figure this out. And worst fears realized is something that Stone says to Dino, that when you are a cop and people will threaten you, like they'll say, when I get out of jail, I'm coming for you. And I was threatened, and I was a university police officer in a town, 300,000 people, Madison, Wisconsin. And I had several arrests where the person threatened to come and find me or to hurt my family. And it's scary. It gets in your head, and you have to squash it off in order to keep doing the job. You can't, you have to find a way when you're a police officer to not focus on that. But you also have to be vigilant and careful, because some of these people mean it. Like, they truly mean it. And you've seen it. Judges have been unalived. Lawyers have been unalived. Journalists have been unalived. Police officers, detectives. It happens. So it's not, some people are just talking to talk because they're just not very nice people, and they're cruel, and they're just want to scare you, but some people mean it. So that's where Stone came up with worst fears realized is for a police officer, is when they realize that somebody they put in jail is about to get out, and that they had tried to come after them, and that they were going to threaten them. So it's an interesting book, and I thought I would just share that with you, because I think there are a lot of police officers that have to live with these threats and wonder if that person, when they get out, if they're going to come for them and their family. So I wonder if, John was ever threatened. And going back to what you guys were saying earlier in the friend zone, that I think there was something more to what happened to John. I just don't think the Higgins flirtatious thing is enough. I think there was something going on. I think he knew about something that he wasn't supposed to find out about. Maybe he found out about something that Higgins and Berkowitz and Alberts were part of or in on. I still think that's very possible that it could come out. I'm not sure what it is. It's hard to say for sure what it is. I mean, usually when it comes to this kind of white collar crime, it has to do with money. Money is the root of all evil in a lot of ways. And power and money when it comes to corruption and dirty cops and or leverage for something, or in the cases of the Stoughton creepy, horrible, dirty cops, the Farwell twins and Robert Devine, it was grooming children for their own pleasure, which is sickening and disgusting. And we have an update on him too, and I'll get to that in a few minutes. So safety first before we crawl into Proctor here. Safety tip of the day. So I found this link, and it was put out several times in the last 5-10 years. It's just to remind you guys to be very careful if you take an Uber or a Lyft. So since I was in my car accident, my car was totaled, and now I have to find a new car, but I can't rush into that. So I'm probably going to have to do a little Ubering and lifting. So I was kind of looking up like, what's the news on Ubering and lifting? What's going on with that? So I'm just going to play this here for you for a minute. Let me take a second to share my screen. So just give me a second to do the tech work here of the good old screen share. I have to go open up my deck first back here in the production room and get the link pulled up here for you. Okay, there it is. Now I just have to get it to you guys, so stand by a second. This was actually it came on my Twitter, so I've got to stop it. There we go. All right, let me go back, make it into the production room here, and I will share my screen with you and play this little safety tip. I think most of you already know this. It's pretty much common sense, but I wanted to play it for you just as a reminder for those of you that have to take cabs or Ubers or Lyfts, that it's always good to be careful. Let's see which one I want to do here. Share the Chrome tab. There we go. Okay. It should be coming up on the screen right now. StreamYard was acting a little bit wonky earlier today, so let me know if someone can just type, you can hear it. I'm going to start to play it now, and if someone can just type, we can hear it. That'd be great, because I can't tell if you can hear these things or not. So when I'm in this production room, I hear it, but I don't always know if you hear it. So let me get it so I can play it for you.
Was made aware of a new danger that's going on. You might want to listen up. So one of the new things now they're doing is as soon as you get in the vehicle, they will try to offer you a water. And a lot of times, what they've done is they have taken a needle and they have injected the bottle with just a little bit of fentanyl or whatever it is they decide to use to try to make you lethargic and or knock you out of some type. So, due to this fact, I would advise you that when you get into a vehicle of any type that is not your own vehicle and that you don't know the person that you're getting in, do not take any food or any drink that they offer you, because right now, nowadays, it's just not safe, and you don't know if they've laced it with something. And again, they can put it in with a needle. A lot of times now, what they're saying is to be able to test it, and if somebody gives you want to take the water, I wouldn't, but if you did, squeeze the bottle. If water starts leaking out of it, that's a sure sign that they've already laced it with something. So my best advice is, ladies and teens, if you're getting into a vehicle and you don't know the person that is behind that wheel, do not take any food or drink from them. Anyway, this is my best advice, and I hope y'all take care and stay safe out there.
Cool. So that is scary, right? Really scary to think that you could be. I mean, I've been in cabs, I've been in Lyfts and Ubers where they offer you water, and they're just trying to be kind. They're some of them are, I don't know how kind they are, if they just want a better tip. I think some of them are genuinely kind and they just want you to have a water while you're in your travels. I actually drove Lyft for a while. It was one of my little part-time jobs when I was still working after I retired. I just was bored, and it was before I created Social Change Warriors, and I just wanted something to do. And I thought, you know what, let me try this. It's kind of sounds like you could chit chat a little bit with people, make some tips. And so I drove Lyft for about 4 months. I think it was 3 or 4 months. Now, I didn't do it very often, maybe 10 hours a week, kind of my max for doing volunteer work or any kind of little part-time jobs. And I had water in the car I never had snacks or anything like that, but I had water in the car in the back seat in my little, those little bags behind the seat. And I never even thought about that if people didn't take it, that's because they were scared that I might have laced the water. I mean, but it's a scary world, guys. We have to admit it is a scary world, and we can't, we just can't be too careful. There's just so much going on in the world, and there's just a lot of disingenuous people out there and a lot of criminals and dangerous people. So always watch your back, little things too, like when you park in a parking garage, and especially ladies, I hate to say it, and I know that sounds misogynistic, but it's the truth. I mean, we are, in most cases, we're smaller than men. And if there was a bad guy that wanted to, steal our purse or a briefcase or try to break into our car, the odds are he's probably going to be bigger than we are in most cases. So plus, if they're trying to steal from you, they're on a mission. So even if they're not bigger than you, let's say they're same height as you, let's say they're same weight as you, they're on a mission. And so people that are jacked up like that, they're going to have kind of a superpower going on. So if you try to fight for your purse or don't let them into your car or whatever, I mean, they could hurt you. So always be aware of your surroundings when you're parking in parking lots. And especially at night, try to keep a flashlight with you in your purse at all times, so you can, with the new cars now, most people have the newer cars with the clickers. You can just beep, beep, and then your car, headlights come on, which is great. But some people still drive older cars and they don't have that. So try to keep a flashlight with you. I'm not a big pepper spray person, to be honest with you, because that can be used against you as much as it can be used for you. So I'm not real big on that. But definitely the flashlight is really, really a nice key, because you can even use it to shine in their eye and kind of cause a blindness for a minute, so you can run away. So just be very careful when you're traveling around in your car at night, where you park. Keep an eye on your surroundings. And if you are Uber and lifting, take this man's advice. I wouldn't be taking any water or snacks, even if it's a nice person like I was, right, who actually wanted to help people. So that was just my little safety tip for the night that I picked up, since I am probably going to be Ubering and lifting for a little while until I figure out my car situation. So let me try to get, my production room is doing that crazy thing that it's been doing for the last 4 weeks, where when I go to share my screen with you, then it makes me tiny. And I know it's all good for you guys. So that's all that matters to me, is that if it's all good for you guys, then I'm good. So, but for me, it acts all wonky, and then I can't look at the slides anymore like you guys are. So I'll have to go up here and look at them in my production room. And I still haven't figured this out. I got sick right when this was first happening. I never got a chance to call the StreamYard people and say, hey, what is up with this? So there's my safety tip for the night. So interesting. There was update today, right? The juror foreman in Karen Reed's murder trial from the second trial, he was at a college today. I don't remember the name of the college now, but he was at a college today, and he answered questions about what it was like to be on such a high profile case on a jury. And he kind of doubled down and reiterated how he could tell right from the get-go that there was something wrong, that the answers weren't answering, that what the supposed witnesses were witnessing wasn't making sense. And he kind of doubled down on that. I was quite curious if any of you, good, so you can hear, if any of you saw that or looked at it. I'm going to try to pull it up here. Give me a second and I will pull it up. Try to see if my darn production room will stop acting wild on me, because it makes it harder to pull things up and share things with you. But I'm going to try to share that with you because I kind of want to share that. I want to hear him and then hear what you guys think about it. So let me find it here. And that kind of leads us into talking about Michael Proctor and the 19 cases that are potentially going to be in trouble, possibly because of all of his nasty texting and things that he shared and talked about that he should never have done. So just incredibly unprofessional, probably borderline on criminal in some of the cases, right? So give me a second. I'm going to pull up the link I have for Boston 25 jury foreman. All right, and let's go. I go back in here and share my screen with you again, and we'll hear a little bit about what he had to say, but it was mostly what we already knew. He just doubled down on everything that he said in his interview the first time, and it's kind of slow loading. Says jury foreman in Karen Reed murder trial speaks out for the first time. I guess he is then, isn't he? But because before, didn't he go on a couple live streams though? I thought he was on live streams. Maybe they mean to the media. The jury foreman who helped acquit Karen Reed in the death of her Boston police officer boyfriend, John O'Keefe, is speaking publicly, according to Boston 25 for the first time. Charlie, I think is it Deloach? Deloach, am I saying that right? Charlie addressed criminal justice students at Fisher College, that's right, in Boston on Thursday, sharing insight into the high-profile murder retrial. So that was just last night. Here we go.
Spoke publicly for the first time. Charlie Deloach spoke to students at Fisher College in Boston yesterday. He said former state trooper and lead investigator Michael Proctor's text messages to acquit Karen Reed of murder. Deloach added he questioned some of the evidence.
That because the
like a small
screen's doing all kinds of funky things.
And that piece of hair is supposed to be on her bumper from all the way from Mansfield to Dighton.
Can you guys hear that okay?
From Dighton to Canton in a snowstorm with a winds of 30 miles an hour, and that one little thing didn't fly off.
It's like the miracle piece of hair, right?
Exactly.
Jurors acquitted Reed of murder and manslaughter charges in June. They found her guilty, though, of drunk driving. Deloach says the jury plans to reunite at some point.
So I guess that was all they had on Boston.
We are halfway through the month of.
So what the article says is, he said the text messages from former Massachusetts State Police trooper and lead investigator Michael Proctor were troubling. And while they were troubling, were not enough on their own to clear the Mansfield woman of murder charges. Well, that makes sense. I think all of us sort of felt that way and knew that all along, that there was much more to it than just Proctor being a complete jerk and not doing his job properly. So I kind of had a feeling that he would, stick to it, because he seemed very believable to me. You know, he truly said that when the firefighters were giving their, you know, their witness statements, that it wasn't adding up for him, and that when something one said wasn't lining up with what someone else said. And then he said the same thing about the family. You know, the O'Keefe, he said Mrs. O'Keefe was the most believable. I thought that was interesting. He actually said that. And I think she was. I think she truly does, you know, does still believe that Karen hit John. And I think she just got brainwashed into that right out of the gate. And as a mother myself, and I know many of you are mothers and fathers and aunts and uncles and grandparents, we can understand that. That's why I've always had empathy for her, and have felt, you know, just so much sadness for her, because I don't think she's trying to be difficult or trying to be mean to Karen. I think she truly believes Karen hit her son with the car, because if you think about it, that does make the most sense. These weird car accidents happen all the time. Let me know, you guys, that you can still hear me, since I'm having this weird production room thing, because I don't have sight of my screen anymore, and I can't figure out what the heck. This happened the last couple times we lived, and I am definitely writing it down right now to call StreamYard on Monday morning or text them or whatever they'll let me do and say, what is going on with my channel? Why do I keep getting stuck in my production room, and I can't get back out to the main room where I can actually see the screen that you guys see. So I just want to make sure, as long as you can hear me, and if you can see the screen, that's great. I don't have to see the screen. I have my own file that I can look at, so I don't have to see it. See, it's saying fix this tab. That fix the tab slowing your browser. So that might be what's going on. That might be what part of the problem is, but I don't think it's the same thing as the problem with my production room. That's a StreamYard thing. So I'm going to have to just figure that out somehow. And I will eventually. So that was interesting that happened just last night. And it was interesting to me. And I'm wondering what all of you think. And by the way, hi replay. Thank you so much. I realize how many of you, you know, have stuck with me and that come on the replay. And I so appreciate all of you for advocating with us on Friday nights for John O'Keefe. I'm not going to give up. I truly believe that Karen was framed, and unless they can prove it to me, prove it to me, I'm never going to believe any different. I know there's been other live streamers who have questioned, could she have hit him? Did she hit him? Could I have hit him? Did I hit him? Was it me? Is science wrong? I get it, but I don't think so. I really, really don't. I've never felt that, because think about it. Okay, let's do this. Let me add this back up to the stage. Let me stop my screen share here for a second. There we go. So the list of a couple people, I think Nikki Haircuts, like everybody likes to call them, and hang on a second, let me go. Sorry if the screen is not matching what I'm saying, because I can't see the room right now. I'm still stuck in production. So I'm just going to read off of my main slide deck. That'll way I can stick to my outline here of what I want to share with you guys. Well, first of all, let me back up a second. So we talked about the jury foreman and jurors. He said that jurors believed the taillight was tampered with, that was one of their big sticking points, way more than Proctor being an a-hole and not a nice guy, and maybe possibly committing crimes that he did. Was it Proctor that planted the taillight, or was it just Yuri and Berkowitz or Tully? Maybe Proctor wasn't involved in the planting the taillight. We don't know. We weren't there, and there's no way to know for sure unless one of them finally flips and tells the truth. So he says that when the jury was finally free to deliberate, Deloach says all of them wanted to look at one piece of evidence, the taillight, and claims many jurors came to the conclusion it had been tampered with. And then he said, this is way different than the taillight we saw on the ARCCA report, he said, referring to witness testimony. So if you remember right, when Sean on the Golf was live streaming during trial 1 and trial 2, that was his thing. I mean, he was on that taillight. He had people were sending him blowing up pictures. There were so many super sleuths out there. It might have been some of you that are here with me tonight that were that were sending him, photos of what her taillight looked like at 5 a.m. and when she possibly, obviously, we saw in that the John's surveillance camera from the driveway that she definitely hit the traverse, even though it was a tap. Trust me, I was just in a car accident. I hit the person in front of me, and the person behind me hit me, and it didn't feel that horrible at the moment. It felt like jolting and scary, but her tap looked less. But the damage that can be done is way more than people realize. So I do think that the jurors were all over that wait, this taillight stuff's not adding up. Like, what do you mean they're finding taillight 2 and 3 weeks later, and different officers are just showing up there and they just happen to find taillight? Like, it's so unbelievable. It's way more unbelievable than anybody really realizes, I think, that a human body could cause a taillight to explode into 47 pieces and end up in the front yard. But yet the first people there on the scene with their leaf blower, and Julie, when she was still living with us, did all those amazing experiments. And thank you, Julie. We loved your experiments showing how effed up that was, that there's no way, it's okay, Zeus, that there's no way a leaf blower was appropriate to bring to the scene and use a leaf blower. I mean, on a crime scene, it's just, and then to try to justify it and say other police departments have been behind this and have wanted to. No, there's no way other police departments. There's no science behind that whatsoever. If anything, it's going to scatter your evidence. It could damage your evidence. I mean, it's just ludicrous that they thought that they were going to pull that off. It's okay, Zeus. It's okay, buddy. I'm just going to open my door because my son left for the night and Zeus is lonely. Come on, Zeus, come and join us. We're talking about the same thing we talk about on Friday nights, justice for John O'Keefe, right, Zeus? All righty. So, yeah, I mean, just going back to the whole beginning, when the call, came in, the way they handled the call, I've said this from the beginning. Cops don't F up that bad. Cops aren't perfect. We make mistakes. I wasn't perfect. We don't always follow exactly the protocol we're supposed to do sometimes when things get heated or things get crazy. But for the most part, we do, because we're trained that way. And we go to in-services 3 to 4 times a year where we have to walk through all these different scenarios that we might face in real life on the streets. And so there is no way the Canton cops effed up a crime scene that bad. They were told to do that. There's no doubt in my mind. And I'm rest in peace, I guess. I have a hard time with this, with Berkowitz resting in peace, because I think he committed a crime. And I think he knew exactly what he was doing, protecting his boys in blue. And I don't know that he deserves to rest in peace, guys. I know that sounds horrible, but I don't know. I mean, did he ask God for forgiveness before he died? I hope so. I'm not God. I don't get to make these decisions, but I really have a hard time with saying rest in peace, Berkowitz, because I think he framed Karen Reed. I think he was instrumental in all of it with Tully, and the other ones were just their puppets. Yuri and Proctor were the puppets of Tully and Berkowitz. That has always been my opinion, and I'm sticking to that till the end of time. TD North, welcome. Sean knew ahead of time that call was coming in. What call? TD North 6622. Welcome aboard and great to see you. Yes, Burke orchestrated all of this. I know. I agree. I think a lot of you out there believe it too. And I felt it right from the beginning. I mean, it was gut instinct as a human, as a woman, not even as an ex-cop, that he was involved, because his presence there that night made literally no sense. There would be no reason for him to be there whatsoever. If this was just a standard hit and run, like the anti-Karen Reeds want us to believe, Mass Whole Mafia, Kate Peters, and there's so many of them. They all give me a headache. Most of them have me blocked now. But yes. Oh, Sean. Yes, Sean. Good. Right. Exactly. He was definitely in on it as well. And the whole thing with Deaver, I mean, if you made a list of everything that's wrong with this case, it would go on and on for eternity. I mean, many, many people that are great sleuths on the internet have made these lists for us. Olivia made a big list. So many people that have been free Karen Reed from day one have made lists for us. I've made a list. I think mine had 100 things wrong with this case on it. And that's minimal. I mean, you could go on and on and on forever. So so you've got, you've got 34 Fairview, it's that house is going to live in infamy. I mean, this case is famous. It's not going to be forgotten for a very long time. And so many mistakes were made that morning with the securing of the scene, with going into the house to contact and wake up Brian Albert, because mysteriously he didn't wake up, even though he was a police officer for all those years. And there were all those bright lights in his front yard and screaming, crying women. I mean, come on. That is the number one sign, red flag. Huge, absolutely huge. And like I said, cops don't F up that bad. They were told what to do. They were told not to secure the scene. They were told to get I mean, all of it was orchestrated starting at maybe 3, 4 a.m. in the morning. There's no other explanation of how it's possible that this could have gone down the way that it did. And it's sad, it's despicable, but it's happening everywhere, guys. It's not just those of you that are living in Massachusetts. You're not the only ones. There's something happening in every state where the police are not doing their jobs properly, or there is corruption involved within the system and within the county boards or the select boards or whatever the towns, want to call them. And it's just horrible. But this house, this house is going to live in infamy in Massachusetts. And I'm amazed that anybody can live there. Like, I don't know. I was like, it's just amazing to me they were able to sell it, and that the people who bought it maybe didn't know what was going on. I mean, I couldn't live in it. I don't know about any of you, but I most certainly couldn't live in it. Oh no, TD North. I didn't hear that. I missed that today. I saw some interesting things on social media about, how Cox has doubled down and how I don't want to hear about this case anymore. And I'm tired of this case. And, oh my gosh, they did not know before. Oh, they did not know. Okay. Wow. Now see, that's just so messed up, guys. To me, as a realtor, that should be disclosed. Like, that should be something that should have to be disclosed if I'm buying a house. Now, I guess you can do your own due diligence, right? If you're going to buy a house, Google the address, see what comes up. Cause a lot of shit would have come up if they would have Googled 34 Fairview, right? Holy crap. Right. So I guess we could blame a little bit of it on the home buyer, that they didn't do their due diligence and Google, 34 Fairview. But I did not hear about that. So who is suing him? Oh, I know something I wanted to ask you guys before I forget. We've been living for an hour. I'm going to keep going as long as I can. I don't know how long that'll be. This headache can just start happening at any moment right now. It just comes on me like nothing flat. Ever since the car accident, my neck is kind of messed up. So I don't know how long I'm going to be able to go tonight, but whatever I don't get to that I plan on getting to, we will definitely get to it next Friday, because I do want to do next Friday before I start my rotation. I definitely want to come back next Friday because I've been off for 2 weeks and I want to keep our conversation going about John. And so, and I want to wait to get some emails from all of you too. I'm going to put my email up one more time. It's acttmsw@gmail.com. Like to know your advice, suggestions, what you would like to see happen with Friday Night Lies, because we don't have a trial right now. Now, once the Brian Walsh trial starts and Suzanne Morphew is coming up, and I've been advocating for Suzanne Morphew justice for her and for Anna Walsh and for Suzanne Clark Simpson. Those trials hopefully will be coming up in the winter, February, March, April, and we will talk about them a little bit on Friday Night Lives. We'll do a good hour on whatever's happening with John O'Keefe and our advocacy for John O'Keefe. And whatever else is going on with Sandra Birchmore. God knows when that's going to get to trial. And I have an update on that too. I'll get to that in a few minutes. So, but I would love to know your opinion on what you would like to see on Friday Night Lies, and if it's acceptable to you that we do it every other Friday. I mean, I'm okay to do it every Friday, but I'd have to adjust my Wednesdays for sure every other Wednesday, because I just can't live stream twice a week right now, dealing with these weird headaches and just wanting to do a little more groundwork as well. So, but just want to hear all your suggestions and advice. I appreciate all of you and really, really honor all of you for advocating and sticking with our channel. All unrelated camera rigs except the fact that it's the same commissioner. Oh, interesting. Okay, I'll dig into that and kind of update myself on it, and then we can chat about that a little bit next Friday night. Thanks, TD. I appreciate you. So let me go forward here. So here's the list. I mean, I'm going back and forth between production room and making sure you guys have a screen, since I still am still trapped in my production room and I can't see what you guys see. So let me go back to my main deck here. So the list is this: Brian Tully, rehomed out of Norfolk County; Yuri Buchanan, reassigned; Michael Proctor, fired and destroying the CW. This is a list that was put up. I believe Nikki Haircuts put this up. I tried to copy who did this, but I didn't, and I apologize, but I think it was Nikki. Michael Proctor, yes, fired and destroying the CW. Sean Good, Canton PD, suspended. Benjamin Berkowitz, Canton PD, resigned. Paul Gallagher, Canton PD, retired. Helena Rafferty, retired, Canton PD, ex-chief. Ken Berkowitz, Canton PD, retired prior to passing away. Kevin Elbert, Canton PD, disciplined, but not enough, right? Kelly Deaver, Boston PD, formerly Canton PD, resigned. Brian Elbert, Boston PD, retired early, wasn't planning on it. I can guarantee you that he wasn't ready to go. And Brian Higgins, ATF, whatever it is, I think he's been demoted. I think that's where we're at on with the list. So that's a heck of a lot of people, right, guys, for to have screwed up. And so what I'm trying to say is I'm not defending them, but I don't believe all these people screwed up by accident, that this was just them not doing their job, that they weren't good trained police officers. No. This is corruption at its finest. It is like a completely huge example of how deep and dark corruption can get. And when you guys met Ed Byers with me last year, he live streamed with us 3 or 4 times and told us about the corruption in Clark County, Indiana. And we'll have Ed back on because he's going to run for sheriff this spring. So I'd like to have Ed back on because he's truly getting on the ground. He's coming out of retirement and he's going to run for sheriff because the guy he outed and helped get put in jail is still in jail, thank God. But they're trying to run one of Jamie Knowles' cronies, and it's all going to be the same. It'll all go right back into crime and corruption because you're putting one of the cronies that knew of everything Jamie Knowles was doing, and you're trying to run him for sheriff, and people are going to vote for him because they're just not paying attention. I don't know what else it could be or how else to say it. It's so frustrating. So Ed's going to come out of retirement and run for sheriff. So we'll get him back on here on some Friday night. Screaming Daisy's Good is suspended with pay. Oh, yes, you're right. He was with pay for now. Yep, that's right. I remember people being unhappy about that. But guys, that's protocol. Come here, Tanner. That's protocol when you screw up and they don't know for sure if it was nefarious or that you made a mistake. Okay, Tanner, we're going to take a 5-minute break here, guys. I got to let the doggy out. He's still a baby. Yes, he's still a baby. Come here. I'll take you out. I will be right back. I'm going to just pause here. 5-minute stretch break, 7th inning stretch. Taking Tanner out. I'll be right back. Thanks a lot. Thanks, everybody. I'm back. So I'm catching up here to your chats here in a minute. Opening statements. Yeah, thanks, TD. We appreciate you for. Oh, Walsh starts Monday, December 1st. Holy crap. Are you kidding me? I said I was going to tell you the update is that the update we got this week was that he is competent. He is competent to stand trial. Okay, well, this is going to get good because it's not good. It's terrible. It's horrible. It's despicable. What he did to Anna Walsh is absolutely despicable. That the evidence is going to be horrific. I do not envy this jury. I was actually supposed to be on a jury starting Monday in Wisconsin. But I luckily got out of it. But yeah, so I've never served on a jury because when you're a police officer, you typically can't. Now you can. I mean, there's no rule that you can't, but typically they do not choose you. And I did not get called the entire time I was a police officer. I didn't get called the entire time I was on duty disability. And I retired in February when I turned 62. And I get called to jury duty. That's when I first got the sheet. It was like in March or April or something like that for a fall jury duty. So that was weird. And it was during the trial when I first got my first letter, the trial. So it would have been in May when I got the letter because the trial was still going on. So it's very strange. But so opening statements. Okay, well, this is huge. I did not realize that it was coming up this quick. I thought it wasn't starting until January. Now I know that February 13th. I believe is Suzanne Morphew, is Barry Morphew, I think is February 13th. It's the day before my birthday. It's either Barry, it has to be Barry Morphew because I don't think it's Brad Simpson. I'll have to double check. I don't think it's Suzanne Clark Simpson. It could be Brad Simpson though. His is coming up too. I'll have to double check on both of those for you guys. I usually update on all the ladies on Wednesdays. So Higgy rehomed. Perkins kicked him out of Canton PD offices. Well, he really probably truly should have never been there. I mean, that was a Berkowitz thing, and it was probably against protocol. I'm pretty confident. But you never know. People pull favors for people all the time, but I don't get that completely. I mean, I think we were told in the beginning, right, that it was because of his sister. And, that's terrible that he lost his sister and that Berkowitz was trying to help him so that he didn't have to commute so far because his sister was ill and passing away. So, it's possible that he only had to get permission from the Canton Select Board. So who are they to tell him no, right? They're not going to tell him no. Wasn't Higgy and Berkey like BFs? Yes, I'm pretty confident they were very close. And I don't know if it happened during the passing of his sister that they became close, or if they were already close before that and then got closer. There really wasn't much ever shared about their relationship other than they were friends. TD says, apparently this Perkins guy is going things. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed. Yeah, that's what I've heard from Dixie and Boozy Beauty. And speaking of them, I have a cool video to show you of one of their standouts. Let me find that here real quick. Let's see here. Where is that? They've still been doing standouts, bless their hearts. I mean, they are doing true advocacy on the ground. And it's just amazing that they're still going out there and standing out for justice for John O'Keefe. Before I get to that, though, let me read to you something that I found that was on it was on Calling All Beans channel and on his Twitter feed. And this was a while back. I had taken a screenshot of it because it really intrigued me. And it was things we had talked about on my channel on many Friday Night Lies. You won't be able to read it because it's going to be way too small, but I've got it up on the screen right now. So I'm going to read it to you and off of my slide deck, my case file. So here's the list. And I know you're going to recognize, we've talked about a lot of this during last year, during the trial on Friday Night Lies. Here are questions for the Massachusetts State Police that have not asked Michael Proctor, but should ask Michael Proctor. And you could probably say any of them. You could ask these questions to Tully, to Proctor, to Yuri, to Chief Berkowitz, if he were still alive, Helena, why did the chief investigator in Officer John O'Keefe's death not go to 34 Fairview where his body was found immediately? Again, absolutely makes no sense, completely against protocol. I'm tired of hearing their excuses, the excuses of the snowstorm, the blizzard. Oh, please. Sorry, but people still die during blizzards. Crimes still get committed. People need service. People need help. That's what you do it. It's like the post office through rain, snow, sleet, ice, tornadoes, hurricanes. Firefighters run into buildings, not out of buildings. Police officers run after them most of the time as well, or they're right there trying to get the victims out as fast as possible. As you know, so many firefighters and police officers died on 9/11 running into those scary twin towers that were on fire, not running out to save lives. So I don't buy their whole crap and, line a bull about the snowstorm. That's utterly insane. So there's your number one red flag right there. Number two, didn't Proctor get a search warrant for 34 Fairview? I didn't think he did. That's the question. Didn't Proctor get? I don't think he ever got a search warrant for 34 Fairview. As far as I know, I mean, do you guys know? I don't believe there was ever a search warrant issued for 34 Fairview, because if there had been, they might have found something and we wouldn't be here right now. So I don't think so. But that's a good question, and I'm going to have to look into that now. I'm trying to catch up with you guys a little bit. Oh, I know. So MCAT says Morphew, no cameras, which sucks. Yes, I was going to tell you guys that was my update on Suzanne Morphew, is that because of one of the live streamers got a little gung ho and live streamed something he shouldn't. That was is it JLT or JTR, or he's a younger guy. He's really like, whoa, he's hyper. But he's on the ground. I give him a lot of credit. He's not everybody's cup of tea, but he is on the ground. He doesn't just live stream. He goes to where these crimes have happened and where these court cases are happening. And so I give him a lot of credit, but I think he got over rambunctious and he pissed off the judge. So yeah, that does really suck, MCAT. I agree, especially for her family. They've waited all this time. Yeah, not sure where Anna is. Well, it's scary and horrible, the evidence in that case. I've looked through a lot of it, and sadly, I do believe she was dismembered and was taken to various locations. It's just the most egregious of all. I mean, it's one thing when they unalive their wives or their spouses or their fiancés or girlfriends or exes, but then they don't even leave their bodies intact for the loved one to be found and to be buried properly. I mean, it's just the worst. And that's what's going on with Suzanne Clark Simpson. I truly believe that he put her in different places as well. She's never been found. Ashley Elkins has never been found. And in fact, I'll do a little bit more of an update one of these Wednesdays on her case, because it's starting to look like they may not even take it to trial. They don't really have a lot of solid evidence to get him convicted. It's looking like he did it, but he's pleading not guilty. They don't have her body. They don't have any surveillance really. I'll do a little deeper dive into that case, because that one we've touched on it. We've advocated for her for justice, but we will look into that one a little bit more thoroughly, because it is looking like she may not get her justice. They may not be going to trial, which is just sad and horrible. I do believe that Barry Morphew intended to get away with it. I believe that he thought they would never find Suzanne. And then when he started getting worried and nervous, he moved her. That was his mistake. If he would have left her where he put her the first time, and this is just so horrible to have to talk about it like this, because this was a real human being, just like you and I. She was a living, breathing human mother and daughter and aunt and friend. But sometimes if we're going to follow true crime, if we're going to break these cases down, if we're going to advocate for justice for them, sometimes we have to talk very clinical about it, like a cop and like a lawyer almost, or like a medical person. So I do believe that wherever he put her the first time, something spooked him and he moved her. But I think if he hadn't moved her, he would not be in jail right now. I do truly believe he would be getting away with it. I think he panicked for some reason and moved her. And then she was accidentally found because they were looking for another missing woman. And I don't know what he was thinking of. He must have known that where he put her is where the other missing woman was missing from. He couldn't have, it was all over the news in that area about the other missing woman. So I still don't get why he did what he did. But if he did do it, allegedly, and I do believe he did, that's my opinion. If he hadn't moved her, I don't think she would have been found. So again, there would be no body, and there would be no real, there might not have been that extra block that, like, we need that piece of the puzzle we need to take a case from just being investigated by the police to the DA to an actual either grand jury and or a jury trial. So the fact that we're there with, with Anna Walsh and with Suzanne Clark Simpson, when there's no body for either one of those beautiful women, it is pretty telling that those two kind of effed up, and they did not, they left something behind that was enough to get it to trial. But there's no way to know if it's going to be enough to convict. So that will be, from a true crime standpoint, a fascinating trial, heartbreaking and horrible for the family of Anna Walsh, because she still hasn't been found. So yeah, December 1st, no joke. Okay, well then we will definitely be doing Friday Night Lies in the month of December. Obviously not over Christmas, but maybe we'll switch to an every other Friday in January. We'll just see how it goes. If I have to do no camera on some Friday night, so be it, because it's helping me a lot right now. I'm not getting a headache. So I think not having to worry about staring into the camera is really helping me. So thank you all for allowing me to have my icon, my Social Change Warriors icon up instead of my face. But I will show my face next Wednesday because I have a guest, Mary Jo. So I will be back on camera for that. But to get through Friday Night Lives, if I have to use the icon for a while till I'm better, so be it. Because we're definitely going to want to cover the Brian Welsh trial for sure. Tully, Screaming Daisies, Tully said there wasn't probable cause for a warrant. I agree. I'm pretty confident they never got a warrant. Now, guys, there was absolutely probable cause for a warrant. I've discussed this with some of my law friends and my own mother, who had to apply for warrants. And I could tell you that there was probable cause. A dead body in your front lawn is probable cause. Come on. And many people have said, if he wasn't a cop, if he was just you or me, they would have searched our home. They would have gotten a warrant within hours of finding his body. You can get an emergency warrant. You can wake up a judge. You absolutely can. So I'm not a lawyer. I'm an ex-cop and a social worker and a journalist, but I do know that. I know you can wake up a judge. I know you can get an emergency warrant when time's of the essence. And so I do believe that they did that on purpose too, that they didn't want to search the premises. They didn't want to go in that house. Well, the fact that Proctor had naked pictures of Anna Walsh on his iCloud is going to be a huge problem. Yeah, I'm very concerned about that. I truly am. Now, they were saying that, that it won't affect Walsh's case. Many people have been saying that online, but I don't agree. I think this is going to be a problem, and his defense attorneys are going to make that very clear. And this just, again, points to the fact that Michael Proctor is not a good human. He's just not. And he never deserved to take the oath of office to be a police officer, to take the oath to serve and protect, not the oath of office, but to serve and protect. I still remember taking my oath at the graduation ceremony at the police academy. And then again, in the chief's office at my PD. I remember feeling so almost somber because I knew I was about to do something that was way bigger than myself, and how much was going to be on my shoulders and how much it was going to be in my head when I wasn't on duty and when I was trying to raise my boys as a single mom. And it all was just there looming over me those 2 times that I took that oath to serve and protect, and how much it meant to me. And when these dirty cops go against the oath, and they go against every decent, good cop that ever served, it's just, there's nothing that makes me sicker. And I'm sure that for those of you in your professions, it makes you sick too, because cops are supposed to serve and protect you. But when this happens in your own professions, I'm sure it makes you sick, because you run across crime and corruption, and especially white collar crime, which is, my mom did white collar crime for many years. It's just maddening, because if you're damned if you do, or you're damned if you don't. If you whistleblow, you're a whistleblower. And then everybody hates you and they find a way to either fire you or push you out. If you don't whistleblow, then you're stuck in this job watching people commit crimes right under your noses in whatever profession you might be in. There are going to be nefarious people amongst you. That's just the way of life. Let's see here. He was sharing them. Thanks, TD. He was sharing them with other investigators in the case. There's no way this will sit pretty. Oh, God. I know. It's just so bad. It's so, so bad. I mean, guys, 19 cases. This is going to get so ugly. Let's take a little listen. I pulled up a little clip of Emily D. Baker. I just love her. I haven't watched much of her recently because of dealing with being in the hospital and moving and the accident. I've had my hands full just to prepare for the live streaming that I have done. I want to thank Misdemeanor again for inviting me as a guest on her channel. I take so much out of getting to talk about Ellen Greenberg. I followed that case since 2011 in my own way before I ever live streamed or ever had Social Change Warriors on my plate. So I really appreciated that she wanted to hear my opinion on the Ellen Greenberg case. And I will continue to advocate for Ellen Greenberg as long as it takes to get her justice. There's many of us out there that are advocating for her, and we'll continue to speak on her on Wednesdays and even some Fridays. So yeah, MCAT, absolutely nuts. They never started for a fair. It's literally egregious. That's what it is. It's downright egregious. Everything they did in that first 48 hours is egregious. And every police officer who's worth their weight knows it's egregious. And that's the part that pisses us all off so bad, is that these guys are such narcissists and they're so, and girls, and women, Helena and others that are there that are on their side. This lady here that I have up on the screen, who I believe that she's involved. I'm sure you guys do too. She had to have been involved in the video, the missing, library video, the flipped video of the Sally Port. I mean, she's involved up to her blonde roots, or brown roots, maybe. No, nothing against those of you that dye your hair. I never have, because I'm a redhead. Now I'm just feeding out naturally to like this golden kind of color of red. But nothing against all of you. But when it's somebody like that who's committing crimes, then I think it's okay to take a jab. I think maybe she too much peroxide to the brain, and she figured it was okay to commit crimes and help frame an innocent woman. I don't know anymore, you guys. It's just so horrible and nefarious. The longer we go here, and the more we all knew this, though. We all knew when we were watching that trial that things were going to start coming out, because eventually the dust gets to be too thick. And it has to be washed. It has to be cleaned. And I just knew things were going to start coming to the surface, and something was going to blow. And little did we know that it would be Proctor, that, he thought he did his due diligence to protect himself from his crap behavior. What he did, the disrespecting of a dead person. It's just sick. It's just beyond sick. I literally can't stand the man. And I'm sorry, but I'm glad he looks like shit. Sorry to swear, but I'm glad he looks like shit. And you know what else looks like shit is Sam Goldberg looks like shit. Ellen Greenberg's fiance, because of all the stress from that Hulu, episode coming out about a death in apartment 602. He looks like total shit. Like all he's eating is nothing but crap food and not taking care of himself. And stress will kill you. I mean, when you are carrying a heavy load of something that nefarious and that criminal, stress will show on your face, and stress can kill you. I've watched mothers have strokes at the scene of their son's death. I mean, two times I saw a mother go down with a stroke, finding out that her son had been shot. And one was her son had unalived himself from the 12th floor of one of our dormitories. And we had to contact the family, and they had to come into the PD, and you can have a stroke. Stress can cause a stroke. That's why stress is bad, and you want to stay away from it the best that you possibly can. And it's just atrocious, what we have to witness and what we're seeing in a lot of these homicide investigations, and no justice for these victims and what the families are dealing with. And that's why we have, TD, got to get ready for work. Have a great weekend. Yes. Thank you so much for joining us, TD. So appreciate your comments and your collaborating with us tonight in our friend zone. And please send me an email. Let me know your thoughts. And I hope to see you next Friday. Have a great weekend. Those of you that are watching football, I can't wait. It's going to be a great football weekend. My fantasy football team is doing great. We are 9-1. I can't believe it. It's so cool. And I'm still alive in my survivor pool. Out of 110 slots, there's only 9 of us left. And man, I'm kind of hurting this weekend because I've used a lot of the big dogs, and I'm kind of hurting this weekend. I have to take Pittsburgh or Houston, and they're both, oh my God, they're not favored by very much. It's going to be a 50-50 coin toss for me. I want to stay in it though. I want to stay in it a couple more weeks. If I can get down to the final 5, that would be so cool. I made it to the final 5 once, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, but not last year. I went out really early last year. Oh yeah. Don't wake up Auntie Bev. She needs her weekends. Oh, right. We don't want to call Auntie Bev for any kind of a search warrant. God forbid. Yeah, not happening, right? So let's take a little listen to what happened in court. I always love to hear Emily's, take on this. So let me find that link for you. And we'll just take a little listen to Emily here for a minute. And I don't know if any of you got to watch Emily or if you saw the court, if you saw it or not. I didn't get to, so I just peeked a little bit at it. Here we go. Is this? Yep, there she is. Okay. Give me a second to share my screen with y'all. All right, I'm going to share the screen. We can listen to a little bit of what went on in court and any comments you guys have or want to make. All right, let's see here. Discovery hearings on Trooper Proctor. And this is for more than just one case, as we all know. Okay. Those of you that are still in the friend zone with me, let me know that you can see and hear this, please. That would be great. Ooh, I got the screen back. I'm not trapped in my production room anymore. I don't know why that happens. Why it suddenly lets me go back, but it did. Okay, good. Hopefully this will play now nice and easy for us.
Tipton's on Zoom. He's the attorney for Brian Walsh.
Is there any other issues with respect to Mr. King, Ms. Chanchillo, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Del Santos?
May I?
You may.
On behalf of Mr. King and Mr. Johnson, I have had a number of conversations with Commonwealth trying to work out what's remaining out of the federal materials before they are destroyed tomorrow. My initial position that if the Commonwealth, if there are certain during the minutes that relate to the current case that we're looking for, that are both in the custody of the federal government and in the custody of the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office, as well as some police reports that relate to the Karen Reed case that involve officers. They're also either in the Johnson or the King matter. And so we initially had talked about whether or not we would file Rule 17 motions for that information if the Commonwealth wasn't willing to give it to us. I think the Commonwealth has taken the position that if we can justify it under Rule 14, that they would give it to us at Rule 14. And I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that if it wasn't Rule 14, that if we asked for it under Rule 17, that maybe the agency objects, but I don't believe the Commonwealth would object under those circumstances. I just want to make sure I'm clear about that.
All right.
We've been going back.
This is not an issue in front of me. The only issue here is the issue of the federal materials and what's going to happen to the federal materials. So you can work out whatever you want with the attorney.
She's saying that she doesn't think the Commonwealth objects, and there's 2 different rules that they can use, and the issue is not necessarily the Commonwealth at this point. She's saying the issue is the feds, and they're trying to figure out how to work in a very unusual and difficult circumstance while providing representation for their clients, knowing there's this other world of discovery out there that's related to officers that are in connection with all of these cases.
Yeah, it's so convoluted.
Her 2 defendants,
this has to be on precedent.
Johnson and King, have, murder cases in Norfolk County that go through the Norfolk County DA's office and elsewhere are investigated by the Norfolk branch of Massachusetts State Police and the troopers there. That was Proctor's division. So all of the troopers involved in the investigation of the Karen Reed case are involved in the investigation of all these other cases because that's their unit and these are all homicide cases. This is the homicide unit for this area. So shock me that all the same officers are involved. So of course the defense is like, can we mention it all, please? So the defense attorneys are like, we are trying to deal with this very unusual and somewhat unprecedented circumstance. And there's this federal order that the Commonwealth has till tomorrow to have these materials and then has to give them back. And if the defense can't get them from the Commonwealth, getting them from the feds is going to be much more difficult. And these are defendants that are still pending trial.
Prosecuting Mr. King or
well, my concern is I don't want to say I don't have any objections if I'm not going to be able to get the information from the Commonwealth. That's the whole point. The Commonwealth
information are you talking about the federal materials or are you talking about other materials?
The materials that are listed as federal materials, which include state grand jury and police reports.
State grand jury is not federal materials. State grand jury is in possession of the DA's office.
Right.
And that's not being returned. So the question is, federal materials. Is there an issue with respect to the return of the federal materials?
So those state grand jury minutes and the police reports are listed as federal materials.
What am I missing?
I don't think you had the opportunity to review the index.
The judge is frustrated, clearly, saying, well, state grand jury minutes aren't federal materials. And the defense is saying, well, they're listed in this index that we got of federal materials. So they're listed in the federal material index. And the court's like, excuse me, the fuck? Those are not federal materials. Why are we talking about these things? And do we have any issues with the fact that the DA's office has to return all these materials to the feds tomorrow? And so that's not on the defense. The process.
This is so convoluted. And she said somewhat unprecedented. I think it's very unprecedented. I'd like to take a minute if I could find the time to look up and see if there's how many other cases that were like this that involved dirty cops doing nefarious activities involving so many other criminal cases. I can't imagine that this has happened very often. So I think it's more than somewhat unprecedented. I think it's very unprecedented. I mean, I'd love to talk to her. I wish I knew if she knew how unprecedented it was or wasn't, but having her to kind of break it all down, because it's very complicated and confusing what's been going on with all these hearings they've been having and the discovery and the feds versus the state. And you literally have to be a lawyer to understand it. So she is a lawyer and she helps us and breaks it down. So I appreciate fair use. We'll listen to her for a little bit.
Prosecution is now stepping in, seemingly to also support what the defense is saying and say, well, Your Honor, you haven't had a chance to review the log of what is considered federal materials. So it's on there. Okay. Continuing on. I turned it up a bit more.
That's why you're less information than the parties do. So I think the best way to explain it would be that state grand jury minutes, which the Commonwealth produced in discovery to the defendant in Reed, also became.
You got to be fucking joking me. You got to be fucking joking me that they're also having lawn day outside the windows at the courthouse.
Right.
Seriously.
That's crazy, isn't it?
It's me. It's not me for once. That's in the background of the court. You got to be joking me. Good Lord.
I love her honesty.
Federal materials which were reproduced.
I mean, that is so annoying. Can you believe that?
Independently, and if a defendant filed a Rule 14 for state grand jury minutes or for police reports in the Reed case, we would evaluate that because we have those materials in our possession, custody, and control,
Right.
separate from the federal materials.
Right.
So I agree with the statement that Ms. Capiccio made about the state materials that we have complete control over.
Okay.
I appreciate that the Commonwealth, as the judge was already annoyed, the Commonwealth stood up and said, Your Honor, this is why it's an issue. It's listed here it's part of the federal materials, but we also have it. So it's not something that has to go back to the feds because it's our materials that the feds have, but it's listed there, and the defense would normally not be entitled to the state grand jury proceedings in a different case. So this is a very unusual situation.
Jeez, it's just unreal.
I don't consider those federal materials. The federal
Mind-boggling.
materials are materials that only the feds have control over and that are exclusively covered by Judge Gasper's various orders. And the question is whether there's any obstacle to the return or destruction order, which hasn't happened by tomorrow. And I've got nothing from you in writing.
No.
Okay. Okay. Does anybody else want to be heard on the issue of destruction or return, other than Mr. Tipton, who's filed something? Okay. All right. So, fine. Mr. Tipton, do you want to be heard on the issue of return or destruction of the federal materials? Hang on 1 second. I can't really hear you, and I bet Attorney Beatty can't hear you, and I bet the defense attorneys can't hear you who are arrayed in court. So, sorry, Margaret. Mr. Tipton, can you do any better?
Mr. Tipton, I have a recommendation for a microphone, sir.
I'm going to allocate $10 of funds to buy you a microphone. This has been a persistent problem, Mr. Tipton.
Mr. Tipton, AirPods would work fine, sir. AirPods, do not try to use the microphone on your fucking laptop.
Oh my God.
Get headphones with a mic, just anything. And the judge is like, I will literally pitch in $10 so we don't have to fucking do this every single hearing on these issues.
CPCS can spring for it.
I've had to call on my cell phone and put it next to it.
All right, let's try that.
Rosemary's always the problem solver, right?
Yeah, she's thinking on her feet.
Rosemary, the problem solver.
She does.
She's like, bro, I'm just going to call you on your phone. I'm going to put it by the mic. We're not fucking doing this.
Exactly.
Stop it.
Work smarter, not harder.
But we'll work on the audio connection via 7.
Which means Tipton's going to have to mute his mic on his computer and then be on his cell phone. For all of you in the chat saying, isn't this what happened last time? Yes.
Can you able to hear us? Yes, I can. Let's try that again. Can you identify yourself for the record?
All of the technology in the world, and courts are still like,
excuse me. Crazy. There's so much technology.
Hear you.
She's right. It makes no sense. And it's so unprofessional and wasting people's time.
All right, is everybody able to hear that? Yes.
I almost passed out from a mold reaction in my own basement. My hospital grade HEPA filter was running right.
No.
Very good. All right, Mr. Tipton, go ahead. I've read your motion. It is very bare bones.
Basically what I'm saying, Judge, is what I've been trying to say for the last few weeks, is that if you just show it, if you allow the destruction of these documents that we have never been able to review in their entirety, we lose the opportunity to ever review them, and it certainly would prejudice the defendant, my client, in the event of an adverse verdict, for there to be an appellate record to review with regards to what's ever contained in those documents. And without breaching the protective order, I can only say that, having reviewed what was provided now, pursuant to the protective order, I completely agree with the Commonwealth that what they produced was favorable to the defense, and it gives me reason to believe that other documents that are contained in what's called the federal documents may very well contain favorable evidence if it was reviewed by a defense counsel that's familiar with the facts and circumstances of the case.
Even closed captioning can't pick up Tipton because I really don't think that they ever put the phone on speaker, but I can't know that for sure. It's just so low, even with the microphone. Attorney Tipton is the attorney for Brian Walsh. And what he is saying is, Your Honor, I agree with the Commonwealth. The things that have been turned over from the federal materials is favorable to the defense, which gives me reason to believe that there may be other materials in the broader category of federal materials that are favorable to the defense. And if these materials are destroyed, if there is ever an appeal, these can never be reviewed because then only the feds will have them. And we have two different court systems, and you can't easily, as we are seeing, just go to the feds and come back with the material.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, if you're the defense attorney for your client and you believe your client's innocent, or maybe you don't, but you have to defend them because that's what you've been hired to do, then you have to do everything you can to defend them. And if there were to be an appeal, so that all makes sense to me. And Emily helps, break it down because we can't hear everything because it's just so ridiculous, the technology that they're using for Walsh's attorney, Tipton. But Emily breaks it all down. So we'll listen just a little bit longer to Emily, and then we'll move on to our next section.
And that is the problem that they are dealing with right now is we have a federal order telling the Commonwealth that they cannot give these materials other than what they've been approved for to all these defense attorneys, and they have to return them or destroy them tomorrow. And Tipton is saying, but if you allow them to be destroyed, it prejudices the defense because we never have the opportunity to know if there are additional things that are favorable because we've never seen it. And the defense has to prove that what is in the materials they don't have is favorable to them. We've gone through this numerous times, which is like, oh my goodness. So let's continue.
That's what we're doing here. And so for the reasons I state briefly in the motion, that the Declaration of Rights has often been ruled to provide more protections in the context of defendants' rights in Massachusetts, I would ask on behalf of the Declaration of Rights, on behalf of Mr. Walsh, that the court order that the Commonwealth maintain a copy of all the documents they have, notwithstanding the order of His Honor Judge Jasper.
So the defense, Tipton for Walsh, is saying, I want the court to order that the prosecution maintain a copy of all of the federal materials and to not adhere to the federal judge's order saying return or destroy them.
All right. Attorney Beatty, before I hear from you, Mr. Tipton, I have a essentially 3-page motion from you. It certainly says that you agree that documents produced to you are favorable to the defense. I didn't read it as saying that it gave you reason to believe that the Commonwealth had other materials that hadn't been produced, which were also favorable to the defense, or even that you might come to a different conclusion than the prosecutors came to with respect to the federal materials. And I don't have an affidavit from you, and I don't have any description of any of the materials, which could be provided to the court under a motion to impound. It could have been sealed, identifying a single document that would fall into that category of favorable to the defense but not produced. So I'm not quite sure how you expect me to grapple with this extraordinarily bare bones affidavit that's not supported with.
How many times has the court said bare bones? The court has essentially just said to counsel, hey, counsel, there were a whole bunch of ways you could go about this, and the way you went about this is not sufficient at all. It is a bare bones motion without an affidavit, and it's not even asking for the thing you're asking for an oral argument. So what do you want me to do? It is procedurally improper. So how can I do what you're asking me to do when you didn't ask for it
Procedurally improper. That's not something lawyers ever want to hear, right? Yeah,
I swear he said bare bones motion at least 4 times. When the court has said bare bones motion that much, you're on the losing end of whatever is about to happen, because the court is like, no, this motion is insufficient.
I will, if the court will accept it, I'll file an affidavit by the closing today, and I'll file it for seal.
And with something this huge and this unprecedented, as we all know it is, and they all have law students and they have, paralegals. And I mean, how does this even happen? Right. It's just mind boggling.
And I'll lay out what my specific thoughts are based on the review of what's been provided.
Right now, I don't have enough, for sure, to issue an order contrary to Judge Casper's destruction order.
I'd ask that be done within 45 minutes, Your Honor. We have had this date for well over a week. There is an index, which I'm going to ask the court to.
Okay, we haven't had this hearing for well over a week. It's been like a week. But the prosecution is saying, Your Honor, if he's going to file more, we need an opportunity to respond. The deadline looms large. Literally, why couldn't this have been done yesterday?
Consider as you're making this decision that Mr. Tipton has, and certainly he could have filed a motion under seal that had more specific information in it, but we do not have time. The Commonwealth has continually been faulted for taking its time. But I would ask that be filed by 3 o'clock. I will wait, and then we can have further hearings on this today.
No. What?
Mr. Tipton?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's a
Did
lot.
you hear what Attorney Beatty was just just saying?
All right. Well, it's way more than I thought, because I'm watching it with you guys. So I'm watching it live too. So we're going to have to come back and talk more about this next Friday. I don't know if they have another one coming up this week. Does anyone know if they do? If they do, we'll just have to finish this one up and then recap the next one. Because I got a couple more things I want to share with you guys, and I'm trying to only do 2 hours tonight because of how sick I've been, how difficult it's been. So trying not to overdo myself so that I can stay well for next Wednesday's live stream with Mary Jo, the mother of homicide victim, Mallory Munzenberger, and her son, 4-year-old Major Harris, the new case out of Wisconsin that I've been reviewing with the family because they do not feel that they received justice. And we're not, I'm not there yet. I don't have a decision on how I feel about it. I mean, it's tragedy no matter how you look at it. So her parents are wonderful people. They've been through hell and back, and they've been left just hanging by the police without any real feeling like they have any closure. It's just a horrific case. So if you're up for it, I'll be live on Wednesday night with Mary Jo about Mallory Munzenberger and her dear sweet son, Major Harris. Rest in peace to both of them. So for tonight, I just wanted to wrap up again with Proctor. It's so hard to imagine that he and all of his little minions and anyone that participated in these text messages with him and or emails, that they all just, were riding high on their egos. That's really what it is. When people get away with crime for as long as these guys have and did, and as long as the Farwell brothers did, and Jamie Knowles in Indiana, and all over the country, there's cases that we don't even know about. Big boy ego, big lady ego when the women are involved. It's shocking, that they just continue to inflate their own egos and think that they're better than everyone else, and that they can do whatever they want, and that they'll never get caught. And then it's just it makes you just really question humanity, and it's depressing and sad. And now it could potentially affect Brian Walsh getting off, which, I mean, I don't think there's any way he didn't do this. And that's my opinion, of course. I could be wrong. We could all be wrong. Some other nefarious character that no one knows about could have framed him or could have done it, but it's not looking that way. The evidence is looking like this is clearly a domestic violence homicide, and that Anna Walsh was dismembered. She was murdered M-word, sorry, YouTube, and dismembered, and her body dispersed. And he's not talking. He's claiming he didn't do it, but I just don't buy it. And so I'm very nervous about this. And I'm in shock. Thank you, MCAT. I didn't realize I thought this wasn't starting until January. So I'm a little out of touch from everything that I've personally been through the last 3 weeks. So we will definitely be covering that on Friday Night Lies, and rest in peace, Anna. Your life mattered. My life mattered. Anna's telling all of us. And time will tell how much Proctor is going to, affect these other cases and what's going to happen. So there's been, it's been all over social media. Everybody's talking about it. I'm still finding it very hard to believe, and I don't know how you guys feel, how the anti-Karen Reed folks can even remotely stand up for this guy, or, oh, what he did wasn't that bad, or it doesn't affect anything. I mean, I just don't get it. I'm so at a loss for words when it comes to this constant backing of these guys who it's just becoming, it was always obvious to so many of us, but it's becoming more and more obvious that their nefarious behavior was not just selected for John O'Keefe and Karen Reed, that they were doing it in other cases. And there's no way to know for sure how many other cases they did nefarious acts towards and didn't get caught. And it's not in the text messages. And, there's no way to know for sure. Just like we do truly believe that, and we'll talk about Good next week. I mean, that's been out. You guys all know about it. The other live streamers have all talked about it, but I want to chat with you guys about it a little bit, because this is going to be very interesting to see what they have on him. Is it that he was part of Proctor's text messages, or is it something else? So he is on leave with pay, because that's customary that they do continue to pay you when you've been accused of something, when in a lot of jobs will give you leave with pay when you've been accused of doing something you shouldn't have done. And I'm actually okay with that, because maybe he didn't do it. Maybe he's going to be found innocent. And so why would you want to wreck him possibly losing his house or losing his car or whatever? He has kids to take care of. So I'm okay with the leave with pay until it's proven what someone did or didn't do. So we'll talk more about good old Sergeant Good, because I want to play back some of his testimony. There were some things with his facial expressions and things he said that hit me, that we never actually, we didn't cover him on Friday Night Lives. We ran out of time before the second trial started. So I definitely want to show some of his testimony next week and get your take on some of the things he said and didn't say. So I wanted to put up my Jen slide, because I just laughed about it when I first found these memes. So this is the warm weather soccer mom look is up there in the left-hand corner. And the spirit soccer mom look is there with the pink, and she's got the dress. Then you got your chick soccer mom look there with the white. I used to have white tennis shoes just like that with the black stripes. And then you got your chilly weather soccer mom look. And Jen, until something happens where she is completely exonerated, which I find that hard to believe or fathom, because I think she lied through her teeth on the stand so many times. She is forever going to be famous in Canton and Massachusetts, and to everybody that followed this case, as the person, who helped cover up the death of John O'Keefe. I don't believe she was involved in it. I don't think she knew it was going to happen. I don't think it was premeditated. I think they wanted to have a chat with John. I think they were pissed at John for various reasons. And then somebody took a swing, or somebody pushed somebody. It all happened very fast. And then, Jen went into, let me help mastermind the cover up mode, because she's a doer and a fixer, and that's just how it all went down. So let's see. MCAT says Monday final hearing before trial. Tuesday starts jury selection. Okay. All right, great. Well, we can talk a little bit about the jury selection then on Wednesday. My time with Mary Jo won't be real long. I don't want to put her through the trauma of too many questions. She lives with it every day, the death of her daughter and grandson. So we won't live with her for too long. So we can talk a little bit about Walsh and the jury selection on Wednesday night then. Thanks a lot, MCAT. And so I still believe that Jen lied. I think she was the one that came up with, we're not blaming Lucky anymore. We're going to blame Karen, because Karen made it happen. She made it happen by going out to look for John. If she wouldn't have gone out to look for John, this would all be very different. I really believe and agree with a lot of you that have made your feelings known on social media, Twitter, Facebook, that they were going to blame Lucky. I really, truly believe they were. So, Jen, you know, there were some things going on this week with Melanie Little, and I don't know too much about it. So we can chat a little bit about that Wednesday night too. Power to women, power to our law to being women. Apparently she's having some harassment happening, and let me read to you, because I know it's hard to see. Let me read you what I was following this a little bit the last couple days. So Masshole Mafia says, and that's Kate Peters, by the way, who's doubling down on everything nefarious. Jennifer McCabe is not sending any army after you. So I guess Melanie Little is getting harassed, and she believes it's the Jen McCabe folks, all of her little army of supporters. She says, you're getting trolled because you spew out every time, which creates funny videos, which then reinforces the trolling loop. In reality, the only one sending trolls after you is you. So you maybe don't threaten John and her family or Jen and her family over the fact that you're she's got LOL cow, whatever that means. Okay, thanks. Yeah. So I don't pay any attention to her really anymore, because she is just crazy. I'm sorry. I don't like to call people crazy, but Kate Peters needs therapy ASAP. She needs therapy. She's so hell-bent on revenge against Aiden because he fired her, or whatever happened between them. Who knows for sure? Only those two know, but their personal lives have been weaved and entangled in Karen Reed and John O'Keefe, which never should have happened, but it did. So I don't pay her too much attention other than just to kind of keep track on who she's trying to hurt or go after or defame. So I hate it that, that it's Melanie Little. So we'll take we'll take a listen to what Melanie had to say about that. Because I'm at my 2-hour mark and I'm kind of losing my voice. So I did want to bring up Sandra Birchmore before we close out tonight, and just to remind all of you, that Sandra Birchmore lost her life, and she was framed for her own unaliving, which is just extra egregious by Matthew Farwell and by whoever helped him, because he didn't do this alone, guys. There's no way. And we do now know that there are more victims. They are out there, and because now another one has come forward. So we're going to talk a little bit about that on Wednesday night. I'll show the clip with Ashley Banfield, where she was very vulnerable, and she told her story, and she interviewed the other brave soul who was willing to come out and talk about what happened with Robert Devine. And but what is going on with Farwell now is that we know that he was indicted now for the death of baby Birchmore. Just tragic. And everything that happened to Sandra, absolutely tragic. And I do believe that, his brother got out of town and moved way out west, and something's going to come of that. He's going to be extradited back. I think that's going to happen sooner than later. And Robert Devine, that guy is a complete loser, piece of shit, and needs to be decertified ASAP. And so he was charged. There are files against him for the death of the baby. And now he is asking for his trial, his venue to be moved. Now, you knew that was coming. I think we all knew. I'm sure Mizzy and Barbara and all of the supporters over there on the website for Justice for Sandra Birchmore, I'm sure they all knew this was coming. So this will be quite interesting now to see what's going to be happening with Matthew Farwell. And we'll obviously talk more about that. So this was Ashley Banfield interviewing this brave woman who was willing to come out and speak about this atrocious behavior that was just cemented into the Stoughton police way of life for all those years. And it makes all of us sick. It's despicable. We can finger point all we want, glare, because this is a horrible, horrific situation in Stoughton. And I'm sad to say it. It's gone on in other communities. There's no doubt about it. This is not just stagnant in a silo in Canton and Stoughton, Massachusetts, these nefarious activities. This crime and corruption is happening all over our country. And all we can do as good citizens and good Samaritans is call it out, follow live streamers that are willing to call it out, and call it out yourselves in your town meetings and your town boards and wherever you can. because my life mattered. And people who have been unalived by the hands of someone else, they deserve justice. They don't deserve crime and cover-ups and corruption and framing innocent people for their own deaths and then getting away with it. It's unacceptable. So I thank all of you that have stuck with our channel this last year, and now a little over a year and 2 months that we've been live streaming advocacy on Wednesdays for victims of homicide and domestic violence homicide, and Fridays following the Karen Reed, John O'Keefe, and Sandra Birchmore, and now Anna Walsh. And we advocated for Just on Route as well. And we will continue to look at Massachusetts and keep you up to date, and have our discussions with all of us that show up here on Friday nights and show up in our friend zone. I thank you so much. I put my email up several times tonight. Please email me any suggestions, anything you'd like to see on Friday Night Lives, any other cases that you'd like us to talk about, have our open discussion. And I wanted to ask you too, you're always welcome to come on the platform. It's very easy for me to send you the link, and I can have up to 10 people on the platform, and we can have like a roundtable discussion. So MCAT has been on the platform. As you all know, Julie used to live stream with me on the platform on Friday nights. And others have come on the platform. Victims' families have been on with me on Wednesdays, but Ed Byers has been on with us, but you're all welcome. You don't have to necessarily be an expert of anything to come on the platform and have a say, because you're all smart and you're all educated, and you all know crime when you see it, and you can tell liars going to lie, and they're going to lie until they get caught. They're going to lie as long as they can get away with it, as long as the community is silent, as long as nobody stands up against injustice and crime and corruption. They'll just keep on keeping on. So we have more to discuss next Friday night, and I'll be back live next Wednesday with Mary Jo, the mother of deceased Mallory Munzenberger, and her son Major Harris from Wisconsin, in a very sad, very bizarre, strange case that the homicides happened in Milwaukee, Wisconsin in 2021. So thank you, everyone. I appreciate your patience with me during my healing from all of what's gone on in the last 3 weeks. And sorry, I'm losing my voice, but I'll see you all next Wednesday. And remember, it's just us. We are a community. We care about the victims, and we have a special need to want to stand for them. And not everybody does. Everybody has their own things that they get into and hobbies they have and things they follow and care about. But those of us that follow true crime and advocate for victims of homicide and for justice, it's a calling. And I really greatly appreciate being part of this community with you and having this time with you on Wednesdays and Fridays. And you really all mean a lot to me. So thank you so much. Thank you, Screaming Daisies. Great discussion. It was great to have all of your comments. Thank you so much, those of you that commented with us. TD, good luck at work tonight when you watch us on the replay. Hope your night's going well. MCAT, I'll be sending you some text tomorrow. My grad school is USC, so the Wisconsin Badgers are my undergrad, and we have a very bad, hard game tomorrow against the #2 team in the country, Indiana. It's going to be rough for us. We're on our 4th-string quarterback, but my USC Trojans, they're looking hot. They're looking good. That Iowa, that's going to be a really good game. So good luck with your teams, college or pro, whatever you follow. And I will look forward. I'm glad I made it back tonight. I was a little nervous I wasn't going to make it. So I really appreciate all of you for sticking with me. And I really love our community of advocacy. So thank you, everyone. I'll see you next week, Wednesday night, the Mallory Munzenberger, Major Harris case, and we'll also discuss some of the Sandra Birchmore and Anna Walsh and any updates I have for Suzanne Clark Simpson and Suzanne Morphew as well. And then Friday night, we'll be back Friday night to talk about everything in all Massachusetts. So take care, everyone. My life mattered. It's just us.
They try to silence the truth we shout, but we're still here, we're still calling out. Corruption hides behind a badger name. We light the fire, expose the shame. We're just a It's just us. We're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. The stories echo, the pain runs deep. For stolen lives we can't just weep. Elected power, but their hearts are cold. We'll bring the truth, let it be told. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight. For every voice lost in the night. My life matters is the cry we sing. For the ones they try to bury within. It's just us. We're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight. The heroes undo the harm. Calling out corruption, we'll stand tall for justice and truth.